Hi everyone, it's Jan and I am back with another illuminated journaling page for you. This one based on my study in Isaiah 66 verse 2. And I love when I have the ability to use some of my scrapbooking or card making supplies in with my illuminated journaling, and I had so much fun paper piecing this fun little Zoe girl, and I had so much fun I got a second set of it, and I will be sharing that in a giveaway here at the end. So let me show you how I did this. I'm going to start by showing you the products that I used. I am going to be using both the dies and the stamps that come in this wonderful set of Julie Nutting made by Prima stamps and die sets. Very fun, makes paper piecing super simple, and so many great options. Obviously, I'm working in my journaling Bible, and I am going to put my little doll over here, as you can see. This is such a great set because it will actually cut out all of our pieces, and I'm going to be using this some paper selections from Authentique and from Prima, their printery collection. I am going to actually cut the doll body out of the script paper, and I'm kind of previewing that and seeing if I have enough room for it. And this doll honestly would fit on the page, but I am wanting to leave the reference up at the top pretty clear. So I'm going to be doing some stamping and some die cutting, and this is a great time for me to share the two different kinds of ink that I'm using. When I am working with watercolor or with wet medium, actually in my Bible, I want to use archival or stays on ink. That's just a better selection. It's not going to bleed or run. But because I'm going to be doing a little Copic coloring to give some dimension and shading to my doll pieces, I'm going to use Memento Tuxedo black ink. This is an ink that will not react with the alcohol that is in my Copic markers. So again, it's really a great idea to kind of know what your different inks will do. Now, I will tell you that I put a little bit too much ink on this stamp, and I pressed way too hard. It was a very juicy pad. I picked up the wrong pad, so it was a little darker on the actual page than I wanted it to be, but I will certainly overcome that because it is not going to be any problem. So I'm just going to use this text side over here, and I am using my magnetic platform with my Big Shot because when I'm working with these metal dies that I want to stay in a particular place, I love that that platform really does hold them in place. To save a little time, I cut down the pattern papers to be just big enough for me to cut the pieces out that I want. And you'll notice that I did my die cutting first. With this particular set, I think you probably could go either way, but I have a habit of I do my die cutting first, and then because I'm working with clear stamps, it's very easy to position my stamp over the die cut piece and stamp it on. This particular little die, most of them have the open frame to it, but on there you just use, I love that they give you those little holes that you can remove the paper with. And this is how I store them after I get them out of the packaging. I use this envelope that I got, I believe, from Ellen Hudson, and I put all my dies in there. This way I can keep my stamps and my dies together. If I actually go ahead and cut extra of a particular die, which I usually try to do when I'm actually in the die cutting mode, I try to usually cut a couple of extra pieces. I can store those in there too. So you can see I'm now using my Memento Tuxedo Black, which will allow me to do my Copic coloring, and I'm just stamping each of the little outfits, and then I slip my stamps into the other side, and that way I keep everything together. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the colors up on the screen that I'm using, and because I'm working light to dark and then dark to light, I'm going to just put a little bit of music on for you, and let you watch what I'm doing. If you are new to Copic Coloring, I've got some other videos that would probably explain a little bit better, but you will see me using the V22 all throughout this coloring because that V22 actually gives a little bit of a shadow. Most shadows are cool in nature, and so if you add a little bit of violet in to a shadow and then blend other colors over it, you end up with a really nice, very natural looking shape. So you can see I'm just working back and forth. I'm going to hush, just let you watch the coloring. I'll come back when we have something fun and interesting that requires a little more direction. So I'm moving on to her hair, and while this isn't a great tutorial on Copic Coloring, the little tip here that I will say if you are new to Copic Coloring, that usually we are trying to blend the colors so that they just move seamlessly one from the other. But when I'm coloring hair, I actually try to leave some of those little lines so that you actually kind of get the feeling of the various strands of hair. You see I've kind of done a little bit of a highlight on her hair, and then I'm going back and flicking color over that, trying to not eliminate all of the hair, little individual hairs. And I didn't show you this earlier, but I decided that she needed some bangs or something. So I'm going to actually put her together with her hair. The hair piece allows you to put the hair behind her face, and then you've got the little bangs. And you have options on the bangs. This is kind of the side sweep, but she's got some little full bangs as well. So you've got many options as you create your own little dolls. Okay, just going to do some quick shading here on her clothing, and I'll let you just kind of watch that, and I'll be back in a minute. Now that we have all of her cute little outfit colored, we can just put her together. And I'm using zip dry glue. I love using this in my journaling Bible because it's kind of like rubber cement. And once it has dried, you're able to rub the excess off and it doesn't leave a glossy stain or anything behind it. So I'm just working from the bottom up and adding all of her cute little outfit onto her doll body, and then I'm going back and adding just a little bit more shadow once I have the clothing in place. Now I want to do a little tag over here that I'm going to use for my quote or kind of my title for this, and so I measure and cut a piece from the leftover that I cut her little jacket out of, and you can see that I've measured it, and I'm going to make a tag out of it. I'm going to let the top of the tag hang out of my Bible, and to do that I cut one end off, and then I flip that little triangle over and take it over to the other side. That makes it match perfectly. I have a tag that now will be great. I did just a little stitching on it so that it will have the appearance that I have sewn it in, but I didn't. And now I'm making another little score mark so that it will bend and not pull up at the top. So you can see there I have a few little lines marked, and I am planning on working on some videos that show you how I do lettering. I'm still in the process of learning, but I usually give myself I give myself a lot of grace and realize that it doesn't have to be perfect. But I give myself some lines there, and you can see that once I finished marking with my 005 pen, I'm going back in and erasing those lines. You want to do that before you do any additional stamping. And I have this little tulip shape that I am stamping here on the bottom, and I'm back to using archival because I didn't know if I was going to watercolor or use colored pencils. Had a few little not great impressions, so I just used my pen and went over those. You can see here I'm adding watercolor over the entire background, and I found that if I work quickly, adding the color in and then drying it immediately, I do not have trouble with bleed through. So I do it a little bit at the time, and I layer it up. So you can see I'm now going back and adding another layer of color in there, relaying those in, and again going right back in and drying it. And now I'm doing a little bit of splattering in those basic colors and drying that immediately too. And I do not have any problem with bleed through when I do this and I dry it immediately. Using a little bit of Mr. Huey's white to add some white splashes on there. And now I'm going back in and doing just a little bit of coloring on the tag to bring some of the colors from the background and my cute little Zoe girl into the tag, using colored pencils. And the red, I just used a single color of that, and here on the blue outlines I'm using two different colors and just kind of blending them together. I ended up not using any Gamsol to blend these together. They were close enough in color that just by continuing to color back and forth between them, I was able to get a really nice blend between them. And on those white spots on the tulips, I just am using my Zig white gel pen, adding just a little bit of that red into the letters that I had with the little double line on it. Anything like that that you can just add a touch of color brings the things that are in your background into this particular, onto your tag. I used a little bit of that goldenrod just to give just those other letters a little bit of a feel to them. And I'm using some Prima chalk ink to edge the edge of my tag. And I'm using that same ink to do a little bit of swirl. I wanted there to be a little bit more movement on the background, but it's a chalky ink and it does not bleed through. And it gave a really nice, just kind of, you can read through it, the text through it really nicely. I'm using my Wink of Stella glitter pen and just going over those swirls just to give them a little bit of an extra gleam to them. And I'm using the Zip dry glue to add my cute little Zoe here as well. And you can see she's off the page, so off with her feet. I'm sure she will forgive me. And making sure that it's good and pressed down. And now to make her pop just a little bit, I'm using it's called Slate Gray. It has a little bit of a blue look to it. It worked really well with the blue that I had used in my watercolor. And then I took a cool gray, a lighter, I think it was probably a 30 or 50%, and went around those lines again, and then using my blending stump and some Gamsol to just kind of blend those together and soften that edge. Now this is one of those goofy details that I'm showing you that I do it. You certainly don't have to do it. All those splatters, I wanted to make them a little more dimensional, so I took a colored pencil that was just a shade darker and went next to them. If you can see it in real life, it was worth the effort, but in truth, it is just one of those little details you could leave out if you wanted to. So here is my finished page. I love my sweet little Zoe. I loved her outfit. I love that the print from the pattern paper that I pieced her on actually kind of gives her her own dimension. So let me tell you a little bit about this giveaway. I love that there are so many ways you can configure her. So if you are a Bible journaler, this would be a great one for you to have because you could do so many things with it. If you're a card maker, you already know how much fun it would be to work with the stamp and die set. So both of you, I am going to give you a link down below. There's 4 things that you can do to win this. You will find the information over on my janngray.com. You'll want to use the link to the giveaway down below. Good luck, all of you. I hope that you enjoyed watching this little tutorial on how or process video, really, is start to finish. How did I go from beginning to the end on this? And I appreciate you for subscribing. That's the way for you to find out what when I upload a new video. And be sure and follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and Twitter, because I'm always posting things there that will give you a clue what I'm up to. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me. I hope that you will take some of these ideas and try them for yourself, and be sure and save some time for creative play. I'll see you soon.